Here we go. We'll play the beginning.
They don't get deals that...
They can be wage slaves for a little bit, come over and make a salary and grow their brand. They can be wage slaves for a little bit. They can be wage slaves for a little bit.
For YouTube, that was how I used to do it.
This is a tough one. Steven's not here to defend himself, but Candace is here to give her perspective on this. So I'll just throw it to you and give me your thoughts on his response and what happened with the Daily Wire, because I know you got a lot to say.
This whole situation between the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder has been absolutely fascinating because it's revealed the true characters of a lot of people that have gone for quite some time convincing people that they're other than what they actually are. And so I'll give you a couple examples. I think that Candace Owens has destroyed her reputation. I think her temper tantrum and her tirade on the Timcast IRL show was juvenile and pathetic, and it was completely devoid of any substance or class. I think that she revealed that for her, it's more important to just insult people and build up her reputation off of drama because she knows that no one's actually going to listen to her for the substance of what she's saying or for what she brings to the table. Because I've listened to Candace Owens talk, and there's nothing really unique about what she says or how she says it. She is a blank canvas for whatever group is feeding her information or paying her bills. I think that's pretty clear here, and she thinks the only way to rise to the next level is to create an enemy and then knock them down. Unfortunately for her, even if she jumped and swung up, she couldn't even hit Crowder in his knees. And I think when Crowder goes on Timcast IRL on, I think it's Monday, I don't think that Crowder's even going to mention her because she's that utterly irrelevant. You know, her whole claim to fame was, I'm friends with Kanye West, and now that Kanye West is basically gone, mentally, and, you know, he's not really in the media anymore. Now that he's gone, she has nothing. So you have that side of it. Then I'm going to go to a rather peripheral person. And I think he represents a lot of different content creators, and that's Jeremy from The Quartering. What I found funny about his reaction was that his reaction gives you an insight into his mindset, which is everything is always about numbers and money. Everything is always about the money. This is a guy who sold scams to his audience for years. With he didn't do BetterHelp, at least I don't think so. But he did sell Kamikoto. He did sell established titles. These things are scams. They've been notorious scams for a long time. There have been multiple videos from people of substance, like, was it Shadiversity or Shadow?
And so, if Kamikoto are just selling their knives as decent budget knives, you could probably say it's good quality. The scam part comes in that they are trying to flog these off as premium quality. They were trying to sell, say, one of their knives were like between $700 and valued at $700, $900, and then they're still selling them for $300 bloody dollars. $300, right? To me, that's a ripoff, and that is very dodgy, and I think that's where the scam part comes into this, because they are trying to sell an inferior product as a premium product. And from the steel quality to the disingenuous marketing tactics, it is Japanese steel, which, no, the steel is cheap. It is cheap knife steel. what they say with the quality control, the traditional methods, and all those things, okay? That is all bullcrap.
Anniversary, he did a video on Kamikoto knives and basically revealed that they're pretty much trash. But Jeremy from the Quartering sold them to his audience because he doesn't care. Jeremy from the Quartering does not believe any of the shit that he says. He's not a true believer in any sense of the word. He is a salesman, and he's trying to sell you on the product of his brand. And to that end, he'll say whatever he has to say. He'll take up whatever cause he has to take up, but he's not a true believer, doesn't believe in any of it, doesn't have any foundational principles, doesn't have anything that he truly believes in. He's a grifter, but not in like the joking like Nick Rekieta way, where Nick Rekieta genuinely believes and stands by the things that he says. Like, Nick Rekieta says, oh, I'm a grifter, guys, but he's like a principled guy that would absolutely go tooth and nail on any hill and stand by his principles, rifle in hand. That's the guy Nick Rekieta is. He's an extremely principled person, and the whole thing about grifting is the joke.
The government should fear its citizens 100% of the time. Unironically, and without a hint of jokes, the government should fear the people, period. Because the alternative is the people fear the government, and that is fucking tyranny. You should become a government agent or official reluctantly in the service of your fellow man, not thinking that you get to be an administrator or controller of their.
The Quartering is the joke, but he's the one that actually is the true grifter, because he doesn't believe in any of what he says. There's not a word the Quartering says that he actually believes. It's all for the money. All of it. And so his video on the topic was almost exclusively about money. It's $50 million, and then if you divide this, and then you look at Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder didn't really talk about the money. His focus was on the absolutely immoral, indefensible contract terms that are crippling for any upcoming talent. So it's been very, very amusing. And needless to say, I agree with Steven Crowder 100% on this. I think he's absolutely right. I think the fact that the Daily Wire has a contract or terms, again, going back to Candace Owens on the Timcast IRL, it was so amusing to me to watch her just spurg out, because she's trying to use semantic games with Tim. Like, oh, by the way, there was no contract. That was just a pre-negotiation. It's like, no, it was the template for a contract. That's what a contract is. Basically, they were hoping that he would just sign that, and then that would be ultimately the deal that went through. And the thing that's so interesting is that Jeremy Boring, he talked about how, I've known Steven for all this time, and he was a friend of mine. Boy, if that's how you treat your friends, I can't imagine how you would treat some average up-and-coming employee. Somebody who's dumb enough to sign on with the Daily Wire and basically torpedo any credibility that they have. It's like, I know that a lot of people like Brett Cooper, but Brett Cooper is one of the most sanitized, like, PG, not going to say anything controversial, doesn't really swear, curated personalities I've seen online.
Welcome back to another episode of Off the Clock. I have popcorn, and I am clearly not in my studio, and I am surrounded by movie posters. Which can only mean one thing. I am in Sheller's house. Today is the day that you all have been waiting for, you all have been asking for. I am finally going to start watching Star Wars. So, as video evidence that I actually did this, I have cameras on me. I'm going to be watching, what movie is this?
This is the original Star Wars.
Number 1.
Well, episode 4, but yes, number 1.
Okay.
And that's not going to work for a lot of people because that's not what most people are looking for. If Brett Cooper weren't an attractive woman, I don't think she would get anywhere near the views that she has. That's not to take away from her accomplishments. It's just a reality. The fact is that there's a lot of simps online and they look at her and they go, well, it's news mommy. That's their thing. Do not doubt me on this. There are a lot of freaking weirdos online that want to get their news from a woman who's attractive. I don't understand it. I don't get the whole fascination with that culture. Like, I want a woman to step on me type of stuff. I don't understand. I don't know where that shit comes from. It's really weird. But it exists. I do know it exists. I've seen it in her comments. So understand, Brett Cooper is not a formula for a successful business model across the board. Steven Crowder absolutely is. And he's the only one with the chutzpah, the balls, to call this out for what it is. It's conservative ink, which is really just Republican ink. Because conservatives generally wouldn't be okay with this type of predatory bullshit. At least I would hope not. See, conservatives believe in the free market, but what the Daily Wire is doing, that's not the free market. That is the left-wing market. That is neocon establishment Republicans trying to run a business the same way that Disney would, which is taking all of the creative exploits and exports of a creator and basically saying, mine. It's mine. It's all mine. When Crowder talks about this, he says, well, why wouldn't you just do it like, Twitch does? Why wouldn't you just take a percentage and offer access to your platform, offer access to your legal services and all this other stuff? Why wouldn't you just come up with a system that allows people to be individual partners that you've approved of, rather than trying to cram Crowder in as yet another Daily Wire employee? It's a bad business model, and Crowder is absolutely right about that. It is a terrible business model. It is exploitative. And to all the brains full of mush that think that this was a good deal for Crowder because they hear $50 million and they go, wow, that's a lot of money. That is not a lot of money for Steven Crowder. Do you understand? $12 million a year for Crowder with his production costs, and the fact that they would immediately take 25% of that because he's not monetized on YouTube. This is not a good deal. Now, I would say that for Crowder, a reasonable deal would probably be more in line with $25 million a year. And he covers production costs, and you would be able to have access to his live streams on the Daily Wire, but the Daily Wire would not own them. Steven Crowder would own them. Steven Crowder would be able to keep the money that he generates from like merch and other things that he does, and he can do with it what he wants. But like YouTube app revenue and stuff, you could say that goes to Crowder. And the money that they generate for the Daily Wire, that could be a number of things that they do. That could be, just increasing the subscription service. You could find a way to integrate Mug Club. They could take a percentage of Mug Club. There are different things that they could do that would help that. And by the way, I know he doesn't make much money on YouTube because they demonetized him, but super chats and things like that, that is directly a result of Steven Crowder working and performing. It has nothing to do with the Daily Wire. They're not donating for the Daily Wire, they're donating for Crowder. But there are ways to monetize Steven Crowder. There are ways to do this that make sense. But it seems that the Daily Wire thinks, if we can't own you and we can't reduce your compensation significantly, then we don't want you. My whole point in this is, why wouldn't you send a structured offer that was tailored to Steven Crowder? You know that sending him a contract with terms that say if you get a strike or you get demonetized, you're going to lose a huge portion of your money, that was never going to work. So, either you lost your fucking retard minds, or you're trying to exploit this guy. You're trying to take advantage. You were trying to get him on the dollar for like 10 cents and then recoup the money from Mug Club, recoup the money from Super Chats, recoup the money that he does get from ads, and take anything that he got and say, we're going to keep this for ourselves, which would be in the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. So no, there's no justification for what the Daily Wire is doing, or their contracts, or the way they set this up. They are completely wrong, unequivocally. And I have to say, it's just what I've already known to be true. I've never liked the Daily Wire. And I'm not just saying that now because it's trendy. I've never liked them. I don't like Ben Shapiro. I don't like Candace Owens. I don't think they do a particularly good job over there. I think many of them are anti-Trump. I think many of them are weasels. I think Ben Shapiro especially is a weasel. He'll go on Bill Maher and just tear Trump to pieces and call him an idiot and insult him for absolutely no reason. It's like, he doesn't want to be like, oh, I'm a Trump guy, but he's perfectly fine parroting the neocon warmonger establishment Republican talking points like he's done for absolutely an insane amount of time. So, no, not a fan of the Daily Wire. I disagree with Tim Pool that they're a net good. I do think that Matt Walsh is pretty good sometimes, but it's sort of like with Fox News. The majority of Fox News is absolute rancid dog shit. But Tucker, on occasion, is pretty good. That doesn't mean that Fox News is good. Doesn't mean that suddenly it's absolved of all the other shit that it does. It just means that there's one person on there who, on occasion, does things that are good. What I want to do in this video is tell you who I actually do appreciate and admire when it comes to this stuff. The person that I think is probably one of the most trustworthy people when it comes to commentary, the person that I think I agree with the most consistently, is Sticks Hexenhammer. I love that guy. And it's not because I always agree with him. I mean, there's some things that I don't agree on. But that guy is the type of person that I get the strong feeling that he is extremely principled. And he doesn't seem like the guy that would sell himself like the quartering for whatever person came along and offered him money. He seems like the type that cares about his reputation, cares about his audience, cares about what he says, and has some principles and will back it up. Now, he's not very aggressive when it comes to talking about people. He's actually very mild-mannered, all things considered. But I would say that Sticks Hexenhammer is probably amongst my favorite. The best rant that you'll find on the internet, by the way, is Nick Rekieta. There is nobody who can rant like that guy. He is the most entertaining ranter I've ever seen. God bless him. God bless the Irish with some alcohol in them. They are the absolute best. Unbelievable rants. And the fact that he goes so scorched earth is just, it's always beautiful to see. I admire people like that. I admire people like that because they're true to themselves, even when they're selling something. Even when Nick, I heard him do an ad read for Birch Gold, and it was one of the most hilarious things I've ever heard because he's doing this in like a Jewish parody voice and talking about gold and silver and shekels. It's just genuinely funny. And that's the type of guy that you can trust because that's a guy that doesn't give a shit. He's not trying to concoct some image. I know I bring up the quartering a lot, but the quartering is fake. He manufactures this image and then tries to sell you the shit but doesn't believe a word that he says. Everything's manufactured, concocted, contrived. But somebody like the quartering, he can never reach the level of realism and authenticity. And neither can people from the Daily Wire of a Steven Crowder, of somebody like a Nick Rekieta, or even somebody like a Tim Pool, but especially like a Styx Hexenhammer. I think he's the most authentic, and I do think that Tim Pool is authentic. I think that some of the things that he does are fake. Like, listen, I'll just be honest. When Tim Pool talks about getting a beer and a pizza and eating wings, it's like listening to an android or like an AI recite what they think human beings want to hear. I don't believe that Tim Pool actually sits down and eats pizza and drinks beer and watches football. I don't believe that for a goddamn second. I don't believe that he eats pizza and wings and beer. I could be totally wrong. Don't know the guy. But whenever he talks about it, it's like a robot reciting it. I don't know. It's always made me, I don't know, a little uneasy. It's like, oh yeah, and then we go and we sit with the boys and we drink the beers and then we eat the pizza. It's like, oh, okay. I am going to be having wings tomorrow for some good old fashioned football. I'm going to be placing some bets on FanDuel. So it's going to be a good time all around. But I did want to do a video on this because it's just been so interesting. It's been so interesting to watch the different personalities, to watch the different reactions, to watch the different breakdowns, and watch where people's minds are at. A lot of people, I know that I picked on the quartering a little bit, but a lot of people were hyper-focused on that money. And it's very interesting to see the people that are. Because I could give a shit if it's 50 million or 100 million. And you know what? Neither does Crowder. He doesn't give a shit either. Because he stood by his principles and talked about how going forward for the future, it's better to rewrite the contracts and change the system. And you got to admire a guy like that. You've got to admire a guy that says, no, I'm not going to take your money. You should change your system so that you can help people coming up in the future. And I think he's absolutely right. And if the Daily Wire weren't filled with some of the most aggressive, egotistical idiots in the world, they would have said, yes, this is a perfect opportunity. We're going to agree with Crowder. We're going to come out in favor of contract changes. We're going to come out and deliver a message that, yes, we've been doing things the way that it had been done for 100 years or 200 years. But now we're making the changes. We agree with Crowder on a lot of the stuff, and we're going to be making changes to our contract. And we're going to be incentivizing young and up-and-coming talent to come to us, and we will help you grow, and you will be able to be yourself and have control over your own brand and control over your own production and control over your own content. And we're just going to help you with the process, take a percentage of money to help pay for all of these facilities and to pay for the lawyers and stuff. But most of what you make will be yours. We're just here to help. That would have been a billion times better, but instead they went a different direction, and then they sent out their German Shepherd named Candace Owens to basically chase her tail and make a complete fool out of herself. And here we are. So I'm very interested to see what Crowder does on Timcast IRL. That should be a great video. But yeah, it's been very interesting to see the people who are real and the people who are not. The people who are principled conservatives versus the people that are part of Republican Inc. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Where do you side? Are you a fan of the Daily Wire? Are you a fan of Steven Crowder? Do you agree with the Daily Wire exploiting up-and-coming talent and basically taking advantage of them like every corporation has done since the beginning of time, and the Daily Wire basically implementing punitive measures on people that don't adhere to big tech standards? Do you agree with them? Do you think that they're right for doing that? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, that's all I have to say, and I'll see you next time.